Hey guys, welcome to Pro Prep Baseball. I'm Ken Arnold. How's it going out there? A lot of cool stuff's going on right now. Of course, you've got the World Series, Tommy Weber. What do you think so far?
We're seeing a lot of good stuff and a lot of not so good stuff. I must say this. I think the analytics guys are starting to take a little bit of a pounding. You're hearing a lot of negative talk about this over reliance on data and no reliance, the ignorance of feel.
Yeah. I mean, so far I've seen Dave Roberts take his starter out twice,
Oh my
which
God.
he didn't need to do, and they wound up the one game they won, right? But it went 18 innings, and the other game you know how bad that turned out.
Yeah, I think he lost that game last night. I think that he had an opportunity to turn the complexion of this series around in really one single move. If he leaves Hill in with a depleted bullpen, the Red Sox were asleep. He'll look good. If he leaves him in for one more batter, he gets that batter. He starts him in the eighth. He goes batter by batter. You don't even know if in the bottom of the seventh you score 3 or 4 runs, and that even gives you more reason to keep him in. Rest your entire bullpen, and now it's 2-2 in Los Angeles. Rested bullpen. Clayton Kershaw on the mound. The series takes on a whole different look. Instead, what does he do? He obeys the binder and the data. He takes Hill out of the game, and we know what happened from there. Basically crumbled.
Yep, absolutely. It was not a good decision in any sense. I mean, craziness. Yes, Dave Roberts reminded Renee of an old Pilots pitching coach. I don't know, old Pilots.
He
coach.
means
I don't know what that means.
he's
But, okay.
referring he's referring to one of the teams in the ACBL, the New Jersey Pilots.
Okay.
Actually, saying that is an insult to the Pilots manager. Because I understand managing is difficult, and I know there's a million guys out there on Twitter who are bending over backwards to protect Dave Roberts and trying to pull rank about how tough it is to manage in the major leagues. Well, the actual moves aren't more difficult in the major leagues because you pretty much are confined to a certain few moves that you have to make. But when you're in the heat of the battle and the finish line is in front of you, the moves kind of dictate themselves. And last night, you had to stay old school there and just stay with your starter. I'm sorry. I understand you guys are addicted. The analytics has become their heroin, and they can't stay away from it. But no matter how many times it seems it bites them in the ass, they still go back and put that needle in their arm.
I'm watching it, and you use the term old school. I don't think it's old school. I just think
I don't either.
It's wanting to win. I mean,
I agree.
How do you get a performance like Jack Morris
You don't.
if you don't let the guy go out there with Bueller the
Look,
other night?
I
He was
think
pitching like Jack Morris was.
I
and
think
they
your
took
point
him
is
out.
well. I think your point is well taken. In the game, who do you want on the mound? Do you want a cruising Bueller or whoever you can bring out of the bullpen? And another thing this World Series has done, and I don't want to hear this anymore either, it's dispelled the silly myth that these bullpens are so much better than they used to be. If this has done anything, it's taught us bullpens are a question mark on their best day. On their best day, they rack up these gaudy statistics against weak teams, and there are more weak teams than there ever have been in baseball. And it's very easy for them to look dominant. But when the games count, whoever's coming out of that bullpen is an unknown entity. And I would much rather go with the given, with the guy I see getting outs on that day, that night, who's cruising, than anybody else in the bullpen, and that includes Mariano Rivera.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Jansen is not the answer, and Roberts went to him one too many times. So I don't bring him in the seventh inning. I don't bring him in the eighth inning. He's my ninth inning guy at best.
I agree.
I'm not bringing him in for any more than 3 outs. And
I agree.
They have they have other guys that they could have used, and they didn't use them. And I think Ryan Madsen's getting a raw deal. He comes in with bases loaded, two
Yeah.
guys on every time, and he's just not getting.
And you can't expect a guy who's that old, who's been around that long, to take on that many games in a row, that kind of response. That's not his role. That's not what he's there for. You put him in a situation. Here's the bottom line that's been abandoned also. I thought a manager's job was to put guys in a situation where it's most likely that they would succeed. With a guy like Madsen, you're doing just the opposite. And last night, David Freese is leading off. What What number, what analytic told them that David Freese is the right guy to lead off a World Series game?
I don't know. I don't know. David Freese, in my opinion, should be somewhere near the bottom of your lineup. 7, 8, or 9 in the lineup right now. Especially where he is in his career. Has he done great things in his career in big games? Absolutely. And we'll talk more about that later in the show. But I don't think David Freese is your leadoff guy by any stretch.
Wow.
That's insane. That's insane. So Renee's saying, what if the catcher got hurt? If a catcher got hurt, too. Yeah, well, there you have that, too. Because do the Dodgers have another catcher?
Well, I think Dave Roberts manages like it's the Little League World Series where he thinks everybody has to play. Everybody's got to get in.
By the 5th inning.
By the 5th inning. So,
yes.
Like in the 4th inning, he's making these wholesale changes. Somebody should remind Dave Roberts the game can go extra innings. You can't manage like it's the last inning and you're down 2 runs in the 2nd inning. I'm sorry, no matter what the analytics say. I don't care if you want to flip the lineup because he starts a lefty and you want to get all the lefty. I don't care about that. It's ridiculous. You're using too many guys too early. You've got to manage for the entire game, and you have no idea how long it's going to take. So sometimes you take a little bit of a hit in the beginning so that you have all the bullets in your gun at the end.
Which he wastes them all.
It's terrible.
And Cora hasn't done it. He didn't do a great job in last night's game, I don't think. And he did okay in the 18-inning game, leaving Eovaldi out there for that amount of time. That took some balls, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that was some performance. Eovaldi's making an awful lot of – Eovaldi's making more money than anybody in this World Series because he's going to be a free agent and somebody's going to pay him a lot of money. And they should because he's got a tremendous upside. Cora blew it last night too, and I like Alex Cora.
Yeah,
but I think it's possible. It happens to everybody. No one's exempt from this, myself, you, or anybody else in any walk of life. I think the pressure might have gotten to him. I'll tell you why. There's no way after they give up the first run, all right, they give up the run on an error, right? Mm-hmm, okay? Mm-hmm. It's the 6th inning. That kid has pitched fabulously. He's a soft-throwing kind of location guy. Now you've got 2 runners on. You do not let him face Puig, who's a home run hitter, especially when you have somebody hot in the bullpen who's coming in after the next batter anyway. The rule is always be 1 batter too early, never 1 batter too late. And last night, it almost cost Cora the game. He was 1 batter too late.
Yeah, I also, you're right there because he did leave that guy in too long. I would have brought the righty in to face Puig. I don't know why he
absolutely
didn't do that.
He brought the righty in the next batter.
Yeah, but the analytics told him which they referenced that because Puig doesn't hit well against left-handers. That's why.
But this is a tired lefty.
Yeah, I know, but they left him in. They were going by the analytics.
Well, there you go.
And it bit him in the ass.
Yeah, it certainly did.
So they thought, leave the lefty out there because Puig doesn't do well against lefties. Well, guess what? Puig showed you he does well against a tired lefty.
Again, all this data is a guide. That's all it is. It's not a religion. These guys have become analytics fundamentalists. That's what they are. They're like everybody who doesn't believe. And if you don't believe in this hook, line, and sinker, you're an infidel. You're on the out. You can't even get access to the game anymore. It's like the first priority of any job interview is, well, how much Kool-Aid, how much analytics Kool-Aid are you drinking? And I guess you have to answer a gallon a day. I just continually drink analytiks because I'd like to get a job.
Tommy, they're giving managers tests.
I know.
In Anaheim right now. When's it going to be, Tommy, when it's just going to be 4 or 5 guys sitting in a dugout behind a row of computers and just spitting out what to do? And no manager, no coaching staff. You don't need them. You don't need them, right? If that's how the game's going to be played, you don't need them.
Well, I mean, if you could take a guy like Aaron Boone and put him in the dugout of the most influential, richest, most recognizable franchise in sports in the world, who has not been in a dugout in like 12 years, you're saying that experience doesn't matter. Aaron Boone has no experience. What Aaron Boone's experience was limited to something he did 12 years ago. He stopped playing and never went in a dugout again. I don't care how many games you announce, how many games you watch on TV. There's no substitute for the apprenticeship you do, as you know, in a dugout watching games, watching pitchers, watching how guys get taken out, how other managers handle pitchers. They obviously think that the experience component of a manager has no value.
Yeah. Dan Ford threw a question out there. Is a manager's job safer by using the analytics and losing, or winning by managing?
I think it's safer by going analytics, because you always can say, listen, this is what you told me to do.
Yeah, exactly.
You told me to make a left-hand turn. But maybe it's like when you're driving with your wife and she says, make a left, and you still get lost. She yells at you anyway.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
You're
still getting yelled at.
Yeah, you lose, you're getting fired eventually if you lose enough.
But I think Danny makes a good point. If it were me, I would default to the analytics, because that's what my boss is telling me I have to do.
And I remember, Tommy, when I left the game in the late 90s, early 2000, I was told if I wanted to stay in the game and I wanted to be a manager, I would have to work my way up through the ranks and get that experience and do all of that. And I probably would have wasted my time. I would have wasted 15 years in the minor leagues doing that. For what reason? So some guy could come along with a computer and tell me how to manage a game?
Yep.
Some
geek is, spitting out these numbers and saying, well, of course, this is what you have to do. But we see it time and time again. Time again failing.
I don't need a little card in my back pocket to tell me how to play the Dodgers lineup.
That's the stupidest. That's, you know what that is? That's Cadillacing, man.
I don't need it.
That's condescending. What do you really think? Two outfielders are going to wind up 4 feet from each other if they don't have that card? Come on.
Yeah. I don't know. I see we got a bunch of guys on. Andy Diorio's on. He loves my shirt, he says. Gene Bowles, who coached my son in high school, is on. And, of course, Danny Ford and Steve Burgess, I see, joined us. So we got some good baseball people on. That's nice. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, Tommy. And one other thing I got to say about this whole thing, this whole World Series thing. So you have Hill in the game, right?
Right.
Who's a lefty.
Right.
And then you bring in another lefty to face a lefty.
Right.
Why?
You'd have to check the book.
Why?
You'd have to check with the skinny guy, that skinny, pale-skinned guy who's got the computer up in the front office, who's given this information in their analytics department. That's what you'd have to do. I don't know. I have these ongoing, as you know, you're part of it, texts as the game's going on, and I thought it was an academic move. I actually thought, what a wonderful opportunity. Roberts is in a great spot here. He's got a 4-0 lead. He's got Hill on the mound. Hill just struck Nunez out. Hill looks like he's in a rhythm. He's very excited. He's got, the energy is going. Ride that. When I saw him come out of the dugout and sort of matter-of-factly take Hill out, I said, if I'm on the other team, you know what I'm saying? I like this.
Yep.
We got a little chance here. We got a little chance here now.
We're in their bullpen.
And also, even if it worked out, he had to burn at least 3 more pitchers.
Yeah. Which his bullpen, you played 18 innings the night before.
Right.
Oh, it's great. I love it. Andy Diorio says it works for the regular season, but not in a short series.
It doesn't work during the regular. It's not true. It doesn't work during the regular season, because what didn't work during the regular season? Before there were analytics, guys were, not using analytics, and the regular season, somebody won 104 games or 102 games. I'm trying to figure out what it was that was so broken that analytics fixed. It fixed nothing. It might have reshuffled the deck a little bit. It might have rearranged how people are doing things during the regular season, yes. But what it has done is strip the game when it's the most important. When a pilot gets on that aircraft, he is not concerned about building an aircraft. He's concerned about what might confront him during the flight. And what you want is a guy who has tremendous experience, who has seen every possible problem so that he could most likely land the plane safely. We don't have that anymore in baseball. What we have now is guys who, when something goes wrong, they just keep flying the plane the same way, and it flies into the side of a mountain. That's what happened last night.
And I agree with that totally. And Andy, it doesn't work during the regular season, and I'll tell you
How does
why.
it work? To what end? What's the I want to know where is the proof that something works? It works better. Where?
I'll tell you that it doesn't work. I watched the Phillies. I admit it. I watched the Phillies. All right, I'm a Philly fan. I watched Gabe Kapler at least lose 10 to 15 games for the Phillies this year by making analytic moves, by following the analytics.
Force feeding them.
Yes.
He's doing what Madden did in 2016. He's gonna put John Lester in that game no matter what. The other guy could have been throwing a perfect game, but he had it in his mind, I'm gonna force feed John Lester, and it almost cost the Cubs the World Series. It's the same mentality. There's a condescension to it. I know more than you do, and I know so much more than you do that I know it's wrong, and I'm still going to do it anyway.
It just blows my mind.
That's arrogance. That's what this is. It's arrogance.
The Phillies should have been in an opportunity to get a wild card position, and yet they finished the season below 500 because of the moves that he made. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Look, an analytic. An analytic that they use is framing pitches. Okay, and I went ahead and I had this mind-numbing experience of reading the report on framing. Right, stupidest thing in the world. Okay, and they estimate that you might be able to get 4 pitches or 5 pitches a game that you wouldn't get by framing. And I thought to myself, this is where they lay their hat on analytics being something valuable. All of this is to get 4 pitches maybe a game? Really? You're doing an awful lot of work to save maybe 4 pitches. That's a big analytic in baseball today.
Yep. All right. Well, guys are coming on, and they're throwing some really good things out here. Andy says it's playing the percentages.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not playing the percentages. It's not playing the percentages. It's not.
But it works if you're playing cards. It doesn't work when you're playing baseball.
No, it doesn't work when you're playing cards.
Well, because you've got to bluff and all that stuff,
right.
too.
And also, if it worked when you were playing cards, the casinos would be out of business. It doesn't predict it doesn't predict future. It's not a great predictor of future outcomes. And what you want to have as a manager is a guy with a sense, based on everything he's seen, of what the likelihood is of something happening on the next pitch, the next inning. Looking ahead, what if I do this? How does it impact, 3 innings from now? Pinch hitting, using a player in the 2nd inning for some analytic reason, you're going to have to go a long way to explain to me how that is an advantage when you just lost the player who in the 10th inning you may need.
All right, Andy says he doesn't agree with it, but that's today's Big Bang Theory world. So he doesn't agree with analytics, but that's just how the game is played. And Stephen Burgess came on, had a comment. If Hill had lost the feel for his curve, then he had to go, but it was still there. And yet, yeah, it was.
He just struck out. He just struck out the last guy he faced.
And then
I say this. I texted this to a friend of mine. This at-bat is their season. That out after Nunez was the most important out of the season for them. Not only because of that game, because of how it would influence the ensuing games, given the 18 innings they had just played the night before. So what you do, because you have a 4-run lead, is you can afford Hill to give up a hit. But your upside is that he gets out of the inning, you rest your bullpen another inning, you bring him out in the 8th, he might get the first 2 outs in the 8th. Instead, you take him out, and the walls cave in.
Yeah. Guy comes in, lefty, walks a guy on 4 pitches. I think he walked him. Well, he walked him.
He did.
I don't know if it was 4 pitches.
Alexander.
Yeah. Who was throwing the ball like I could see it had a hump in it. It was coming in so slow.
After he threw the first pitch, after he threw that first pitch, I said has no chance here.
Yeah.
He needs to get lucky.
Yeah.
And he did.
Well, I'm getting updates on the game right now. The Red Sox are up 2-0. Somebody just hit a home run. So It must have been Pierce, because somebody said they'd probably walk Pierce every time he came up. So, yeah, they're going to play from behind, and playing from behind is not the Dodgers' strong suit. All right, Weber, we talked for 20 minutes, man.
That's all right. That's okay.
I think we can move
I'm not
on.
going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere either right now. I got the game on behind me. I'm just, oh, man. So let's get into talking about what I advertised all week, and that's the top 5 World Series moments in the history of the game. Well, at least from in the modern era. Let's stick with that. We don't want to get to
like 1950 or 60 forward.
Yeah, forward. I would say 50 because one of mine is in the 50s. So, you got your top 5. You want to start? So,
I could go. We can go one at a time.
All right, hold on.
What do we got?
Joe Russo just came on.
Joe Russo, fireman, Captain Fireman.
Yes,
I'm saluting you right now.
And he gave us.
And by the way, Joe Russo is the best cook that we will ever have on the show. The guy is ridiculous. Not just like a fireman cook. He's like a real chef, and he's one of my dearest friends. And he's got a cute baby.
All right, he says, it's arrogance, Tommy. Analytics, sabermetrics are so prominent that it's now justifying people's jobs. Draft picks, in-game management, the lineup, they all come from upstairs, and he thinks it's only going to get worse.
I don't know where it's going to go. The romantic in me hopes that it cycles back and that somebody has a fit of lucidity and starts to realize and listen, I want analytics. I just don't want to be owned by analytics.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a slave to analytics. I want to tell my manager, listen, like you tell your generals during the war, hey, you got to make this on-field, battlefield decisions based on something other than some calculation that's made at headquarters because we don't really know what's going to happen. You know, things happen on the fly, and you've got to be able to somehow adjust to them. That's what good managing is. You don't know what the outcome's going to be. So, I don't know if it's going to get, but I got a feeling the smart guy in me says it's going to get worse before it gets better.
And one more thing from Christopher Busser, is Cora an analytics guy?
No.
I'm going to tell you, he does use analytics at times, but he has a tendency to be more of a manager who makes his own decisions.
He said
on field.
He said the game has gotten to the point where 213 and 38 home runs is a good season. We don't think that.
Yeah, I don't think that.
And Ian Kinsler said, and you know this is part of the culture of the Red Sox, Ian Kinsler said, when did this start that all of a sudden strikeouts were okay? Guys are striking out like 200 times like it's nothing. The strikeout is the worst thing you could do. The strikeout is not a toll you pay to get to the power highway. It's a dead out.
So Frank Fury jumped on and said he loves my Seahawks shirt. Actually, Andy Diorio gave this to me. Andy, you gave this to me back when you were still playing. So
he stole it. He stole it.
He stole it from Wagner,
and
he gave it to Ken Arnold.
The AD steals everything else. So
this shirt is got to be almost 25 years old now.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
it's holding up.
I know it is. The armpits are kind of ripped up and crusty, but hey, I'm not going to hold my arms up so you can see it. Your face right now is priceless.
Oh, God.
You're just shaking your head like, oh, Jesus Christ. All right, so let's get to the top 5 World Series moments of all time. Andy already threw up 1986. We know what that is. Is it on your list, Webbs? Go ahead, man. You got a list? Do you want to go first? You want me to run through mine?
Well, I would say I'll go from the bottom up.
Okay.
As far as moments are concerned, I don't think there aren't many more iconic moments than Carlton Fisk Game 6. That's arguably the greatest World Series I ever saw. I mean, that was unbelievably, tremendously well played. And that World Series had 2 of the greatest teams ever. There are more Hall of Famers, fabulous pitching, defense, all the things you love in the game. But Fisk's home run, Game 6, to force a Game 7 in Boston is, in my opinion, one of the 5 greatest moments in the World Series.
Oh, I just remember when I was a kid, making it stay fair. I'd hit the ball in wiffle ball and be like, stay, just like Carlton Fisk when you're running the first base.
Bernie Carbo's pinch hit home run, and George Foster throwing out, I think he might have thrown out Carbo at the plate. I mean, just unbelievable. Those are 2, that Cincinnati Big Red Machine, and the Red Sox with Jim Rice and Fred Lynn. I mean, just fantastic teams. Great
World Series. And at the time, I was 6 years old, and I remember that.
What do you got? Give me one. All
right, my number 5 is, and I didn't even want to put it on my list because Joe Carter hitting that home run in the '93 series. I'm starting at number 5, and I'm going to work to my best one.
Yeah.
So Joe Carter, he hit that home run again off Mitch Williams in 1993, beat the Phillies. I didn't want to put it on my list, but You know,
that was game 6, right? That was game 6.
Game 6. You got to give the guy credit, man. That slider was down and in, and he hit it about shin high over the left field wall, a laser beam over the left field wall. It was crazy. So that's my number 5.
I think next, another iconic moment, if you understand the context, is Bill Mazeroski's home run to win the World Series in 1960.
Yes.
The Yankees were, I believe the Yankees beat them in 3 games by like a collective 50 runs, some crazy amount of runs. That Yankees 60 team, some people say, is the greatest team ever.
There's a picture.
They were just ridiculous, the Yankees. And the way Mazeroski, I believe, gets up to the plate is a ground ball, double play balls hit to shortstop, and it hits Tony Kubek in the throat and prolongs that inning. And Mazeroski comes up and hits a World Series winning home run that Yogi Berra goes back, and just falls down on one knee as he realizes the game and the World Series is over.
So David Freese just hit a home run, first pitch off of Price in the bottom of the first inning.
Man, way to go, Price. There's a guy.
Yeah,
there's a guy.
I think he's kind of
soft.
Soft. A weak pitcher. Well, anyway. All right. So that was your number 4, right? That was the Mazeroski.
Yeah.
Boom. He wasn't on my list. He was on my honorable mention. He wasn't on my list. All right. I'm gonna go number 4, and I know Andy already has it as his number 1, but I can't give it too high because the Mets are involved. But you remember this one, Weber. This one right here, Billy Buckner.
Yeah, that was
poor guy.
that was 2 teams that had perhaps maybe the worst managing I had ever seen collectively. That what cost the Mets win that game for 2 reasons. Number 1, John McNamara takes Roger Clemens out of that game for no reason at all, and starts the parade of guys out of the bullpen. Even back then, Clemens was fantastic. And there was no reason to take Clemens out of the game. If he takes Clemens out of the game, the Mets are done. The Mets were dead and buried. Keith Hernandez was having a beer in the clubhouse when the 9th inning started. So when the Mets say we were hanging in there, they're lying. That game was over. And the other thing is, with 2 outs, inexplicably, with a 3-run lead, Jim Rice is playing like on the warning track in left field. And Gary Carter's looper, if he's playing at routine depth, he has a chance to catch that ball. And how Bill Buckner is on the field when he's hobbled defensively, when they had Dave Stapleton as a first baseman defensive replacement, is beyond me. So, but the game would have already been tied and they would have only gone to extra innings. So, yeah, that was an iconic moment, certainly.
Yeah. Renee just put it up. Kevin Mitchell went in to hit commando. He didn't even have any jockstrap on.
Right. That was
in to hit.
Right. Yeah. That was a team that exemplified you could have a great year and not be a great team.
Yeah. All right. So what's your next one? What do you got?
Well, sort of tied, but there is no greater World Series performance than October 1997. 3 consecutive pitches.
You mean that one?
Holy crap. Oh, man.
Look at him just standing there watching it. Look at him.
I try to tell my players who think that power was invented like last week.
Yeah.
Like when you watch the 3rd home run, it's Charlie Huff. I thought he hit a pop-up. I remember where my dad and I were watching, and I thought he had popped the ball up, and the ball goes into the deep end of those black seats.
Yes.
That's got to be 470. It's got to be. For the 3rd home run.
And it was a knuckleball. He hit it on a knuckleball.
It's a knuckleball.
Yeah.
And it's the biggest stage in the world, the biggest game in the world. There's just, Reggie was pure box office. And that's got to be, in your top 3.
Yeah. And, he hit, it was a first pitch in each at-bat.
Yes. He swung at 3 pitches, hit 3 home runs.
Yes. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. He didn't take 1 pitch. It's fantastic. So my number 3, because it was in a game 1 of a series, and it was off of a pretty darn good reliever, was the Dodgers in '88. Kirk Gibson, the home run off of Eckersley. I'm sorry, Gibson off of Eckersley. So, and you can even see it right here in this photo, Tommy. He hit that sucker off his front foot.
Oh God!
He had no legs. He had nothing, man. He was hurting.
Backdoor slider.
Yeah.
He actually, that's my number two. Not, and you're right. It wasn't. It didn't win them the World Series. It was early in the series. They went on to win the World Series, obviously, but
Yeah.
for sheer theater, and even on television, the way they captured it, him walking, they got him coming out of the dugout.
Yep.
They were wondering where he was. They sort of played it up without knowing what was going to happen. It wasn't rehearsed. And the debate was, could he take a swing? And if I remember those, he was pathetic on those foul balls. He fouled off a couple of balls, and it looked like he wouldn't be able to get the ball out of the infield. And I saw an interview with him, and he said, I remember they said the scouting report on him was, if it gets to 3-2, you're going to get the backdoor slider. And he said, I'm just thinking backdoor slider. And sure enough, if you watch, he gets that lingering backdoor slider that doesn't quite finish. And sure enough, creates one of the great moments in baseball history.
And almost just flicks it. Like
he's a beast.
Hooks it,
oh my
man.
God!
Oh, Kirk Gibson's huge.
Yeah,
He's huge.
Yeah.
A three-sport athlete.
Yep.
Also
Michigan
could have
Michigan
played,
State.
Could have played any of them.
Yep.
NBA,
Yep.
NFL.
Yep.
He was fantastic athlete. So my number two, moving on from there, after Gibson's is this guy. You're gonna love this one because it happened in the 50s, man.
Yeah.
That perfect game. After his first outing, they pulled him out in like the fourth inning because he was terrible. Don Larson.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's a pretty damn good performance when you can come in. And they were playing the Brooklyn Dodgers, right?
Yes.
And that was a pretty good
56.
lineup. That was a pretty good lineup.
As a matter of fact, they had just lost. The Brooklyn Dodgers had won their first World Series, beat the Yankees for the first time in 55 in a 7-game series. And the Yankees and Dodgers rekindled that in 56. And that is my number one moment, only because, if you're throwing a perfect game,
Yeah.
I mean, that is something that's, first of all, we're lamenting how guys don't even pitch 5 innings anymore.
Yeah.
Here's a guy who, straps it on and goes out and for 9 innings doesn't allow a base runner. In my opinion, that's the greatest performance in the history of the World Series.
Yeah. Mine is Reggie in 77 because as a kid watching that, that's why I'm a Yankees fan. I'm not from New York. I'm from
No, I know. You're from
Philadelphia.
Atco. You're from
Atco.
Atco.
I'm from
Right.
Atco. Atco.
Atco High.
Yes.
On
Atco High.
Atco Avenue.
Yes. What's wrong with that, man? Come on.
No, it's okay. Nice. What a thriving metropolis.
I think I could have drove down Atco Avenue and named every person that I passed. I'm serious. I could.
Great.
I probably still could. But anyway, Reggie was my number one guy, and the reason being, I became a Yankee fan because of that World Series and because of Reggie Jackson and Craig Nettles and the whole Willie Randolph, all those guys.
There was also something about that game, Ken, that was played at night. Like the city exploded that night. You can just imagine what the celebration was like. I agree. It was really a huge moment. But I must say some of my honorable mentions were Hershiser's performance in 88.
Yep.
Just insane. Randy Johnson in 2001, who basically took that team on his back. And Joe
Schilling had a
Schilling
good
was
series,
unbelievable. Schilling was a great pitcher. Great pitcher. Yeah. And Joe Torre must have had a bet on the Diamondbacks because he did a terrible job managing that last game. But there are a lot of great World Series performances, but those are some really wonderful, iconic moments.
Well, Jack Morris against the Braves in 91. Yeah, he pitched, and comments are coming in, he pitched 23 innings in that series, 10 innings in Game 7 for the win. Absolutely.
Right. The game. Jack Morris's Game 7 rivals Don Larson's performance. It does.
Yep. So, the famous catch, Willie Mays, that was a pretty
Vic Wertz, yes, 54.
Yep,
54.
that was pretty good.
Yes. The Giants swept the Indians that year.
Yep. David Freese in 2011.
Except if I'm playing right field, I just catch that ball, and Texas wins the World Series.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah. But he hits the triple,
right.
Boom, and then he comes up in extra innings and it hits
triple.
And then he hits a home run.
Yes.
So, to win the game.
Great clutch performance.
Yes, that was a good clutch performance. I'm not going to go there and say Muncie's home run in the 18th inning the other night. It was fun, but it wasn't that great of a moment. No.
The Joe Rudy catch is 72. Reds against the Oakland A's in the middle of their 3-year, actually the first of their 3 straight World Series championships. I think Alvin Dark might have been the manager of that team. I know Dick Williams wound up. I think Dick Williams was the eventual manager, but Joe Rudy's catch in left field, great catch. That was an iconic catch. That was the year Gene Tennis, I think, hit 4 home runs in that World Series.
How about the Mets right fielder, I think it was, in 69? Who was that?
Ron Swoboda, one of the great catchers of all time. Yeah. Great catch. Yes. That was some year. My God, what a pitching staff that was. Nolan Ryan, Tom Seaver, Jerry Koosman. My God.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
and you only won 1 World Series? Come on, guys.
Oof.
Wow. Well, they had to face the Orioles, man. The Orioles back in that
that's right.
in that day, they were pretty good. The Orioles in that series.
420 game winners.
Yep. Insane. All right, so I mean, that's top 5 moments for me. The 73 Mets with the 55-year-old Mays in center, Straub and Wright throwing underhanded, take the A's to 7 games.
Rusty Staub busted his shoulder running into the wall. You had an aging Willie Mays in center field in 73. And Staub couldn't throw the ball. So he would literally underhand the ball back into the infield when he caught a ball. They were really crippled, that team. That was a fun year. That was a good World Series. That was a very good World Series.
Can you name one Kirby Puckett's home run, by the way, in Game 6 of that series to take it to Game 7? Can you name one World Series moment, because it's difficult to do, that was a great World Series moment and it was a great performance, but it got overshadowed because they did not win the World Series? Can you name one? It's difficult. It's hard because you're like, man, and you're just thinking, you're like, wow, man.
Jeez.
Yeah,
wow.
Right? But there have been great performances. They just get outshined because somebody else performed better in that series, or they didn't win the World Series.
Well, I think Andrew Jones, his rookie year in '96, didn't he have like 3 or 4 home runs in the first 2 games? And the Yankees wound up winning that World Series. That was Andrew Jones' coming out party.
Yeah. And if you go back to 2009, the Yankees and the Phillies, Utley had like 6 home runs in that World Series. But the Yankees won, so that's going to go as a footnote. Who cares? So,
well, you know what they say. You know what they say. Victory has many fathers, and losing is an orphan.
Yeah. And Billy Hatcher. You remember Billy Hatcher's performance?
Yes.
Didn't he break a record for most hits in a series? Most consecutive hits as well. He had like 8 or 9 in a row.
He was a tough player. He was a good player.
Yeah, he was. And
of course, what do we got? What are we moving on to?
What are we moving on to? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just talking about the World Series. I get into it. All right, so you sent me a video of a hitter that we're going to take a look at his swing, and we're going to talk about it, and you're going to run it down for me and let me know how
let me give you a little setup on this.
All right.
So whenever I'm around good players, it doesn't matter. I always take video. If a kid's a good hitter, I want to see how he hits, and I keep it. I have hours and hours and hours of accumulated video on players. Good defender, a guy who runs the bases well, guy who takes a lead well, and, catchers, how they, block balls, their energy behind the plate, that kind of thing. Anything like that, I take video of. So Spencer Torkelson was a freshman last year at Arizona State University. Okay. He broke Barry Bonds' home run record. Barry Bonds' home record, I believe, was 11. I think Spencer hit 25. He went out. Whoa. Yeah, he went out and played. He was, of course, an All-American and a Golden Spikes Award finalist. He should have been the Golden Spikes Award winner. But anyway, he came out to the Cape and just absolutely tore it up. Left to go Team USA. He tore up Team USA. Came back to the Cape and continued to tear up the Cape. So as a freshman, you're talking about he's without a doubt the best freshman player I've ever seen, and he's the best dominant hitter with power that I saw in my 3 years at the Cape. And he is. You were happy if he just didn't hit a home run. I mean, he was that good. So we're playing him up in the playoffs. He's playing. He's up. I wanted to get his at bats. Unfortunately, I got this at bat, which is him hitting a ball. All
right, I'm gonna play it at full speed right now. Just take a look at it, and then we'll go back. All right, you ready? Here we go. What about the umpire? You know that guy? No. All right, he's terrible. All right, here we go. Full speed. Whoo! Did you hear that? Did you hear the sound of that thing? It was like whack. Holy moly, that was insane. So let's break it down a little bit, Tommy. Let's take a look at this kid's swing, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Okay. See it? Mm-hmm. Yep. There's the load right there. There's the load right there. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Right there. Right there. Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. Now here's a couple questions for you as we go back a little bit. So, what do you think about his elbow being up like that at that level? I like it. I like it. Yeah. Yes. If you're comfortable like that, I say do it. Mm-hmm. Boom. Yep. Can I ask you another question? Where did he hit that ball? No, no, no. Exactly. Thank you. He did. He hit it out in front, which we talk about a lot of times. No. Yeah. Yes. Yep. Look at where his hands are right there. You can still see where the ball is. And his hands, he looks like he's going to be jammed. It looks. Yeah. And gets there. Yeah. And the bat just gets there. No. And look at his hands, palm up, palm down. That's what I try to tell the younger kids, palm up, palm down. Also, you'll notice too, because of that front, when he hits that wall, and you say he hits like his feet are sore, right? He hits that. Notice that his head moves very little. It stays pretty much right where it started. Yes, yes. And then boom. And here's the best part, Tommy. You ready? Watch this. You ready? After he hits a ball that he probably knows is going to be out and like crushed, right? Watch what he does. You ready? He just takes the bat and sets it down. He doesn't flip it. He doesn't show anybody up. He just, yeah, right? So.
Similarities in all of them. Certain things they all do. You know, there are very few hitters that hit with their hands clenching the bat really tight. The bat usually is, kind of moving, and then they go. And it's just a joy to watch. Very fortunate to see a kid like that, and so many kids that we have as well playing at that level.
Oh, my goodness. I was getting some comments that we might not have been able to hear your audio during that. What the flippin' flip? Well, that wouldn't have been good. Anyway, I hope that's not the case. Let me check, because that would have been... Because I was hearing you fine here on my end.
Man, that was friggin'
that was
Facebook.
great.
That was Facebook Live gold right there.
I know it. Holy moly, I hope. All right, let me go. Let me check here. Yeah, Renee said he couldn't hear us. Couldn't hear you. Well, I will check it. Maybe it was just on Renee's end, but I'm hoping that we had the audio. Nobody else said anything about we didn't have the audio, and there's still some people watching. So, anyway, yeah, that was good stuff right there. You know what, Tommy?
What?
I'm going to go watch the World Series, man. Watch the end of this game. I thought that was pretty darn good.
Thanks,
any
man.
topic you want to talk about next time?
I don't know. I think we could have a little change of pace next week. We could get something inventive. I love breaking down, looking at film, and if anybody has any questions or comments or want to contribute anything, feel free. It's not dialogue's always open, man. Dialogue's always open.
Okay, so I see what happened is when the video came up, your audio, they bumped it. It got bumped down.
Okay.
So that is a technical thing that I need to look into.
Okay.
So we'll figure it out. They said it was faint. It was faint. So they could still hear you, but it was faint.
Okay.
So I will figure that out for the next show. That was the first time we actually did that. So,
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool thing. I liked breaking that down, and I'd like to do that more often with drills and defensive things and pitching and all kinds of stuff. I'd love to get some guests on too. So if you're out there and you want to come on and you want to discuss some drills or things you do as a coach or things you did as a player, let us know and we'll get you on here. We'll get you on video, and I can pipe people in. I pipe Tommy in every week, and I can get up to 7 people actually on. So we can do that. But I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in, man. Thank you. We've got over 60 comments, which is fantastic.
Cool.
A ton of views. And
go to For Mom, great charity. My man Hunter Bishop, Braden Bishop, Randy Bishop. It's a great fight against this terrible disease, Alzheimer's. We're all in it together, man. Visit #4Mom, 4momalz.com, I believe. Check it out, man. Check it out.
All right, cool, man. And where can folks hear Tommy Weber this week on his podcast?
Oh, you can hear me on Spotify, iTunes, and there's my man Tilo, TommyWeberBaseball.com. All comments, suggestions are welcome.
Very cool. Well, Tommy, another great show. I thank you for being here with me on Sunday nights, taking your time to hang out and talk some baseball.
You bet, pal.
Let's watch the end of this World Series. Hopefully the Dodgers will be able to extend it so we get a little bit more exciting of a series than just 5 games.
As Billy Martin would say, let's see what the game has in store for us tonight.
All right, man. So thank you. Thank you to everybody who came out and tuned in and made comments and asked questions. Thank you. And we will see you guys next time.
Be good, man. Love you.
Peace.
Be good.
Love you too,
Take
man.
care.
See ya.